had lovebirds as a kid, and then I had an anole. Funny story, that was my first lizard. I wanted one so bad, and it was we used to live in Seattle, and a couple of my friends gave me a going away present, and it was an anole. So we stayed with my grandmother for, I don't know, a couple months while my parents were renovating a house here in Ohio, and she was terrified of lizards, absolutely terrified. So she's like, you can have him in the house as long as he never gets loose. Well, guess what? He got loose, and we never found him.
Welcome, adventurers. In this episode, I speak with Erica from Serene Green Tropicals. I met Erica at the Cleveland Reptile show several years ago. We discuss how she got into the plant world, the reptiles she keeps, and her view of the reptile shows. Buckle up and join us.
To the music! Welcome, adventurers. Today I have Erica from Serene Green Tropicals. Would you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Erica Tomash. I'm the owner of Serene Green Tropicals, and I'm also the director of an organization I started up. It's called Plant Life Pop-Up, so we're multi-vendor plant sales. So between the two, I'm busy with plants.
How would you define yourself?
I'm just me, really. I mean, I'm upfront. I'm a high anxiety person. Which kind of led me into plants, and then it spiraled into the reptiles. But in all honesty, I've always defined myself as a mom first. So my son's 23, and he's currently in Australia. He was in New Zealand prior to that. Once he moved out, that's kind of when I spiraled a little bit and decided, plants. So that's kind of how I ended up here.
For plants, why don't we just talk about the plant pop-up thing?
Yeah.
What is that?
So Plant Life Pop-Up started again. Actually, it was started right at the beginning of the pandemic. A bunch of us were kind of like struggling with being shut in, and our first one was a small neighborhood sale. Our second one was mid-pandemic, but it started out as basically a lot of us just trying to form more of a tight community, bring more like-minded people together. A lot of people that collect plants tend to struggle with depression and anxiety, and that's what brings them to the plants, because it's there's a moment of serenity to it, which is why I'm Serene Green. So I kind of started the same way, and it just spiraled. A bunch of us kind of met each other through backyard sales, and we decided to start, doing sales together. So myself and two other gentlemen, and unfortunately they're no longer participating like that. Some situations came up, but yeah, and it just kind of grew. And then I was just, our second large sale was at my parents' house, and I started thinking that, this is such a great thing. It's like letting our community meet each other. Find like-minded. There's a lot of people that have told me that they've made lifelong friendships because of the plant community that we've formed here, and it just kind of spiraled and just became what it is now.
Okay, so how did you get into being at the Medina Reptile Show?
That's Troy Goldberg's fault, really, in all honesty. Well, that and Larry and Holly Snow. So I know through plants, a couple, Larry and Holly Snow, they own My Green Obsession. They're I think they've been in the reptile community, the frog community, for a while. But I was already doing a lot of the tropical plants, and I wanted to get into terrarium plants, and Larry does a lot of terrarium plants. So we were over there, he gave us a little tour of his basement, which if you haven't been there, it's amazing. If you're into, oh my gosh, every single terrarium plant imaginable. And then he showed me his frog tank. So I was like, well, I wanted to do the frog tank, but without the frogs, because at the time I had no idea that I was into reptiles. So I was just going to do the plants. And then I started this, and then I'm like, he was telling me, how great it is because the frogs fertilize the plants, and it's this whole ecosystem, which I was super interested in. So I ended up deciding I wanted to get a couple frogs, and he pointed me in the direction of Troy Goldberg, who's about an hour from me. So I went down there, ended up with my first pair of frogs, and it was just, I don't know if it was a good idea or a bad idea, because it's just completely spiraled since then. So then I ended up starting with dart frogs, and then I ended up getting a couple tree frogs from Mike Novi. And then from the tree frogs, and then I started vending at the Medina Reptile Show, and then seeing the chameleons, and I was really intrigued. And there's a chameleon at the Botanical Gardens, and that's what really grabbed me. He was so beautiful, and I was just like, I want one. And then I met a lady that was walking around one at the reptile show, and that was it. That sealed it for me. So I ended up with my first one, and I just got my second one a rescue.
So Mike Novi is from the Rainforest Junkies, which he's been at the show since it was here in Cleveland at the VFW for a long time. I'm still trying to get him on this podcast or on the live show. But yes, and the Botanical Gardens, Two Turtle Tom, who's one of the people who's a fan of the live, and he's been on this podcast before. He's actually the curator of all living things at the Botanical Garden, the Hold'em Arboretum, and why he actually fell into love with these chameleons. And he actually got a chameleon, a Hinelli, for me.
Okay.
I gave him one of my Hinellis in a cage, actually, because I had extra. So there's a whole lot of things that connect here. So
Fred Goldberg actually was just on a podcast very recently with Bill Strand. Yeah, because Bill Strand had that cohab tank, and he brought Troy on to do the dart frog consulting. So.
Oh, that was just this week, right? That was just recently. Yeah,
just came out. Yeah, so it's kind of funny, like all the links.
Right. The whole community, and I heard he was from the area. I didn't know exactly that. I didn't remember that was him. I was watching the podcast.
But up in Youngstown. He lives up in Youngstown, so not far at all.
The small world here. So
super small. Okay.
What was your first exotic pet?
I don't know if lovebirds count, but when I was a
kid, 100%. Not everybody's going around. If it's not a cat or a dog, even some exotic dogs and cats could be something unusual. But
true, there's some weird dogs out there. Yeah, no. So I had lovebirds as a kid, and then I had an anole. Funny story. That was my first lizard. I wanted one so bad, and it was we used to live in Seattle, and a couple of my friends gave me a going away present, and it was an anole. So we stayed with my grandmother for, I don't know, a couple months while my parents were renovating a house here in Ohio. And she was terrified of lizards. Absolutely, absolutely terrified. So she's like, you can have him in the house as long as he never gets loose. Well, guess what? He got loose, and we never found him again. So somewhere in my grandmother's house, there was a lizard that lived with her.
Like the small snakes sometimes do that to people. Yeah. They as long as they stay in the cage, it's okay. But then the small snakes get out of the.
I don't know how he got out, but yeah. So those were my childhood, I guess, exotics. And then when my son was 3, our neighbor had a rescued chinchilla that we ended up with. So we had Chucky Chucky outlived his lifespan by like double. We called him immortal. So he passed away 2 years ago. I think we had him for about 20 years or thereabouts, 20, 21 years. So we had him a long time. And then other than that, just dogs, cats, stuff like that until the dart frogs and tree frogs.
So any other exotic pets that you've kept? I think you probably answered that question already.
Yeah, answered that. Yeah, the dart frogs, tree frogs. I don't know, my dog's Fred's kind of strange. I would say he's a little he's a character, but he's not quite exotic. But he's got enough personality to be something special. But no, just the dart frogs, tree frogs, and chameleons right now. Yeah. I'd love to get a snake. I really wanted a green tree python, but no space.
Those are a little mean, so
that's what I heard. But I don't have a lot of time for all the handling, which is why I don't have beardies or anything like that. I like the chameleons.
Especially if you get certain locales of green tree pythons, they're not as bad as others, but they're like 10 times the cost. So as you would expect, as much as the quality of the pet goes up, the price goes up twice or 3 times.
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
Right. So tell me about your 2 chameleons, a little bit at least.
Oh, the first one I got was a challenge for a beginner chameleon owner. He came to me, I thought I was getting him from a reputable breeder. Ended up, he came to me with parasites. So I was new. And chameleons aren't necessarily the most hardy animals. I've heard, they have, a delicate system and stuff like that if, things aren't right. So I worked really hard on getting his conditions right for his cage. But then when he came to me, just sick. I mean, he ended up with diarrhea within the first day and a half. And it was bad. So Novi is good friends with, Mike Novi is good friends with a guy that owns a big lab in Ohio. Mm-hmm. So, and that guy happens to live 10 minutes from me. So he did fecal tests for me out of his lab, which was amazing. So he did a fecal test, found out that he did have something. Took him into the vet, and he had pinworm. Mm-hmm. So we got the pinworm treated. So he seems to he had four fecal floats that were negative. So it looks like we're in the clear now.
That's great.
Yeah. So it was kind of an induction by fire. I got to experience, some of the. I had already gone through a coccidia episode with with one of my tree frogs. So when I heard he had a parasite, I had a meltdown. Like I was just envisioning this coccidia situation all over again, which just was a nightmare. But thankfully,
Coccidia is one of those things where you burn the house down and
oh,
you move.
it's just terrifying. Like finding out that bleach doesn't kill it. I mean, it's terrible. I ended up taking that tank outside in the middle of August and laying it upside down, so it was getting intense UVB for like 48 hours or something like that. Because I guess that's one of the things that you can use to kill them. So.
Wow.
Yeah, it was fun. So
yeah,
I was devastated
a lot.
that we had pinworm. So, but it was a lot easier to take care of. So that was a relief. Yeah.
Okay. So how about the second one?
The second one, he came to me as a little bit of a surprise. A guy I know through the local community, unfortunately had lost his job, and he had gotten another job or something like that. I'm not sure on the whole story. But he just wasn't getting enough hours, and he couldn't afford to keep them anymore. So I agreed to take both of them. He had a male and a female. So the male is at my shop now. He lives here. The female lives with my mom. And we actually just had a wellness visit. So I've had him, it'll be 2 weeks tomorrow. So he got a wellness visit today, and he got a clean bill of health. Everything looks good. So he has a lump on his lip that I wanted checked out. Doesn't look like it hasn't bothered his jaw or anything. It's just like a little swollen lip. So yeah, so he's good.
Is that your mom who's with you at the show most times?
Yep. She's my boy. I don't know what I would do without my mom. She's my best friend. She's there for me. So yeah, she does the sales with me.
Tell me about plants. What is your interest in plants? I know why you got into them, but what kind of plants do you keep? And
so I started out like everybody, you pick up a plant at like Mark's or at Home Depot or, your local garden center or whatever. And then it looks really pretty in your house and you're like, oh, it brightens up the space, whatever. And then you end up with another one and then you end up with another one. And then it just kind of just keeps going. So that's kind of where I got started with plants, was just trying to make the house more homey, that nesting kind of thing that you do, that people do. And then somebody mentioned to me a plant called, and this was probably 5 years ago, mentioned a plant called Pink Princess. So this was before the Pink Princess. I mean, this was when it was almost its peak popularity. Local garden center had one that had for $100, 3 plants in a pot. She told me, go get it, split them up, put them on eBay, you can make some money. And I'm like, sweating. I mean, I bought in like $2.99 plants or like something for $5 or whatever. My most expensive plant was a croton that I think we spent like $25 on, and I thought that was So I get this Pink Princess. I divided it up. I stuck it on eBay. Bought the one with 3 of them in there for $100. Put them on eBay, and they went for $300 each. And since that $300, I have not spent a single dollar of my own that has not generated from the sale of that original plant.
Wow.
Yeah, and then I kind of
business idea.
Yeah, so it worked out really well for me, and then I ended up just getting into like the national plant groups, and just meeting different people, and getting advice from people, and then finding out, oh, there's this huge market of like rare plants, and it's just kind of you find this thing and it's always, it's a little uncommon, so you get that. And then started propagating them to help pay for all the plants that I was purchasing. And then really did kind of go down a rare plant rabbit hole. And for a long time, that's pretty much what I sold. I didn't sell anything common. It was rares. Philodendrons and anthuriums and monstera specifically. And then about a year ago, I decided that I needed a change in life and went to nannying. And then when my last little one went to daycare, a space opened up in a local, I call it a small business mall. And it just happened that I was like looking for my next path, and I opened a plant shop. And now I do sell more uncommons as well as like the common plants that are more accessible, low, easy plants, and then like higher experience level plants as well.
So what did you do before plants? Anything?
Well, I've done a few things. A long time ago, I was a nail technician. Went there, and I actually worked at a couple of random like dog boutiques. And then I became a licensed insurance agent. So that's what I did the bulk of my adult life. And I got burnt out on it. Nobody likes their insurance agent. No one likes the insurance agent. They never leave the insurance office with a smile. So it wore on me. I'm very sensitive, and it was just too much stress for me, which is why I left there and started nannying. And I love nannying, love it, but it's just too much to juggle with the shop right now.
So what is your goal? What is your plans?
My goal.
I mean, you've already got your own shop, and you started with 3 plants, and you've parlayed it into this whole thing, and you can see all the plants behind you that you parlayed out of those 3 plants. But
back there, I don't know if I actually have a goal. I'm kind of that, like, just take it life a step at a time. I mean, I have wishes and wants, but I don't know that I'm one to like set like life goals. I mean, things just come as they are supposed to come, and it just all kind of unfolds organically. So I've never been one to do like New Year's resolutions or, where are you going to be in 5 years? In 5 years, I just hope I'm content and happy and maybe a little bit more mentally stable, less anxiety-y, not that I'm unstable, but, just that anxiety, just, learning more healthy coping mechanisms and, being more confident in myself is probably what my goal would be. Professionally, my goal will unfold how it's supposed to unfold.
Yeah, the pandemic hit us really hard, all of us, and so I don't think any of us would consider ourselves anxiety or free or
our
anything
own special
else.
little something going on.
Right. Why don't you tell us more about your puppies? You said you were not at home because the puppies would be loud.
Yeah, so I had boxers. So my husband and I, when we got married, I grew up with Rottweilers. He grew up with Labs. So neither of us can agree on which one was the better, because I fully believe that the Rottweilers are like superior dogs. And he thought that about Labs. So we actually ended up settling on a boxer. So my son was really little. Everybody told us how great boxers were with kids. So we had 3 amazing boxers. Our first one was just the sweetest gentleman, like so dignified, so wonderful. Our second one was a little goober, loved everybody. We used to joke that his tail and his tongue were connected because as soon as he'd start wagging his tail, his tongue would be going out. And then our third one was the dog of my heart. Like, he was like that dog for me. Titan, he was a seal boxer. And I loved that dog. He was my guardian. Like, he did not let other men, other than my husband or family members, approach me. He would just jump up and shove them away. And he just watched out for me. And when I lost him at 4 to heart cancer, it was hard. It was so hard. And I couldn't think about getting another boxer. So I was getting my hair done and scrolling through like just ads and stuff like that. And I saw an ad for a puppy, and she was English Bulldog boxer mix. So I'd seen a lot of other puppies on Pet Finder and stuff like that, and nothing really. I saw her and I'm like, she's mine. I just knew from her photo that was my dog. And we ended up getting her, and she literally is me in dog form. She's scared of everything. She's got crazy anxiety. She needs me as much as I need her. Like, we're each other's emotional support. I'm her emotional support person, and vice versa. And our second boxer at that time was wheelchair bound. So he was in a wheelchair the last 2 years of his life. He had something called degenerative myelopathy. So it's basically the deterioration of the spine. So it starts at the feet, and then they just slowly go, basically essentially paralyzed, and it travels up their spine until it starts to hit their organs. So when he passed, she was a mess. She ended up in our closet, wouldn't leave the closet, shake again with her, fear issues. So I had to buy my dog a dog, and that's how we ended up with Fred. So Fred's just a goober. He's an English Bulldog, Australian cattle mix. I tell everybody he's an English Bulldog butthead mix. I mean, he is just... I love him. He is so funny. He's a good dog, but I'm a bully dog girl. Give me a bully dog. These working class dogs are like, they're hard work. They're a lot of work. He's a challenge.
We had a Bichon for like 12 or 13 years. Mm-hmm. We actually got it. It was what do you call it? A purebred Bichon. We got it from someone who was caging it, and Bichons can't be caged. They're people dogs. They need to be around people. They're circus dogs. And so we had it and it was nipping before when we got it. And, it never nipped any of us. And so but we had it for like 12 or 13 years before it passed. And then we had a couple years where we just didn't need another dog because, we missed that one so much. Yeah. And then we decided to get another puppy. We got a couple big dogs in the interim, but we decided to get puppies recently, and we decided to go with Cavachons, which is a King Charles Cavalier and a Bichon mix. So they weren't supposed to look like Bichons, but one of them we've got the DNA done. One of them is actually 87% Cavalier and 13% Bichon, which looks a lot more like a Cavalier. That's my actual puppy. But she's great and is very authoritative. But then the other one is Ghost, who is technically my daughter's dog, but she tends to stay with us and with Lady, who's my dog, who's 50-50 Bichon, 50% Cavalier. But he looks exactly like a Bichon. So we were like, oh, wait a minute. But he was at the breeder too long. I think they didn't take as good care of him because he got too big, and so he's just afraid. Cat. I mean, he would bark at me for no reason. And
you're like, I live here. I live in this house.
But at some point, Jen, my wife, was telling me that he's going to be your buddy at some point. You're not going to be able to get rid of him. And it happened that, yes, see, right now he tries to sleep at both of our feet or both of our heads. And so the two dogs are like always, trying to keep us under the covers or whatever. But no, he was like, he would run at the sound of anything. He would bark at almost anything. He always chased the cat still, but he has grown up and they're about a year and a half now. And he's not afraid of everything, but he has to, like Jen will turn on the blender and he'll come over and he'll just bark at it. He'll come over like it's his job. He just stops and comes all the way over to it. He barks. And then once he's done or it's over, he goes away. And he doesn't anything more about it. But
you guys from the blender every time.
Right, exactly. We've been saved from the blender, I don't know, 100 times.
You don't appreciate it.
Yeah, but Jen needs to make Abigail's blended food 3-4 times a day, so we blend all the stuff out. Hopefully she just blends it once or twice, but when it was a busier day, so it's a strange situation. But yes, dogs take up a lot of time, and these smaller dogs are needier, but they're not. But we tried the bully dogs, and before I had the stroke, we had a husky and a combination. It was supposed to be a Labrador and Greyhound. She just walked in the room, but it turned out to be 52% Pit and Boxer and German Shepherd. So it was not exactly as we got it from the pound. So.
Well, they always label anything pit bull. They'll always label something else because
it looked like a Greyador would have looked. We thought, but my daughter Mary, who was in it earlier, talking before we started recording, I thought it was a little bit of pit. We're like, nah, it's not. But we got the DNA and it's 52%, so we're like, oh my! But those were just too much dog for us. They were hard to handle, and
hard.
We actually rehomed them. We rehomed the husky with a person who had a 20-acre farm. And lots of little kids and a fence and animals. And so that was a perfect place for a husky. I love the husky look, but the attitude and the need and the exercise need.
Oh, yeah.
And if you didn't exercise her, she would chew on anything. She would chew on your fish tank. She'd chew on your furniture. We had to build like a cage in the house to keep her in. So she wasn't. And then we got her the buddy that we thought was going to be, it did actually help both of them, but the other one was just still as much of trouble. So it was a kind of a strange thing. That's why we rehomed her. We actually rehomed her to someone. She was the second one was much more like a guard dog. And we wanted to just get her a job as a guard dog or whatever. But we rehomed her to somebody by West Boulevard where she had a 3-year-old. And I have a picture of her with a 3-year-old just laying in bed together, chilling out. But heaven forbid that someone comes that they don't know.
Say that those were the nanny dogs. They would watch the kids and guard the kids, and that was one of their origins. I've heard is as a nanny essentially for small children.
Talk to me about your perfect reptile show.
The perfect reptile show would not have tarantulas.
Okay.
Oh, me and spiders are just I don't know why. I have a bunch of friends that collect tarantulas. I don't know what it is about it. It's shocking that I even like them. I mean, they're great people, but horrible taste in pets. Like a tarantula? Nah. I can give me mice, give me anything else, but spiders are no.
So the jumping spiders aren't your deal either. So
no. Now everybody's like, they're so cute. I mean, I can look at them without getting the heebie-jeebies, whereas I like to look at a lot of the other ones and my skin just crawls. Jumping spiders, if a spider could be cute, and I'm saying this is a big if, I guess maybe the jumping ones would fall into that category because it looks like they have some personality or something, but no. Perfect Reptile Show. Well, I vend one, the one that's local to me, because it's like 5 minutes from my house. And I guess as a vendor, the perfect sale would be obviously good sales. I would love to see less health issues in some of the animals in the reptile shows. I've heard some stories, and it's, I would love that if that was not the case, if people could go in and know 100% that they're buying, a super healthy, and there are some vendors that you can absolutely trust that are absolutely amazing. And I couldn't even tell you the ones that aren't, but I've heard throughout, Ohio sales, Michigan sales, whatever, that there are some reptiles that are maybe not the healthiest, and that's sad to me, for the animal and the buyer. In a perfect world, that wouldn't happen.
anything else you want to tell our adventurers about you or your journey?
I mean, my journey has pretty much been, just a journey to find myself and to find peace and contentment within myself. And I would say, if you're in a place where you're not sure who you are anymore, maybe, to take a minute and see if there's something that you can bring into your life that will maybe help you feel a little bit more grounded. And that's what plants were to me. They gave me an area when my son left and I wasn't sure who I was anymore. It gave me a moment to think and breathe and find some peace. So that's something that I would highly encourage people to do. But as far as is there anything else? I get lots of calls that, I'm not the most knowledgeable when it comes to, chameleons, and I still have a lot to learn, and I still have a ton to learn, with amphibians and stuff too. But I think that's part of everybody. We're all learning. As far as plants go, again, I still have a lot to learn. But I do get a lot of people that come in asking questions or have, struggles or whatever, this plant or that plant. And, I'm always here. If somebody needs advice, they can pull me up on my Facebook page, and I'm happy to help them if I can. So.
Do you ship your plants or?
I did ship for a really long time. I was shipping nationally a lot during the pandemic. And then after the pandemic, I slowed down a little bit just because it's a little bit harder to, work and also, so I was shipping like once a week at that point. And then when I opened the shop, I stopped shipping. I will on occasion, but I'm not advertising it in the national groups anymore just because the shop's a lot to keep up with. I'm going to fall off my chair. It's a small shop, but it's pretty full. So there's a lot there to take care of on a daily basis, and it's a very dry environment, unfortunately, so I have to water a lot. So, and I'm just about to drop you here.
How do people reach you if they want to reach you? Facebook, or what is there a better way? Or?
On Facebook, you can reach me under Plant Life pop-up pages. I monitor all those pages. And then my Serene Green Tropicals boutique page.
Okay.
If you pull up Serene Green Tropicals boutique on Facebook, I'm there. I have a Google page too. I think you can message me through the Google page as well. That's new.
No Instagram or
I'm on Instagram. Yeah, I have a YouTube channel. I have a TikTok channel. I do TikTok videos for the shop, like for new product coming in, stuff like that. Instagram I have, however, I'm not very good on it. Like I need to take the time to learn it better. It's just still foreign to me. But I am on there, so yeah, I can be found on any of those. It gets really confusing, especially when you're like used to one platform and then you're trying to like switch to the other and then trying to figure out how to link the two platforms together. And I'm getting too old for that stuff. I'm like, I don't know.
Instagram's a real good way to connect.
New platforms I haven't really had time to explore. Something called Plant Story. It's a new platform for selling. I think it's all lives from what I understand. I'm not sure about that, but there's a lot of new platforms popping up all over the place that one day I'll have time to sit down and start exploring.
Yeah, one step at a time, right? We just keep going, and it's just like, I got into reptiles. Now I'm into plants because I need them for the reptiles. Then I'm into the different countries and different rocks and different 3D printed stuff. And, I got into doing live shows. I got into doing podcasts, following Bill along. But you just keep getting into different things. And now I have to learn how to take care of, to edit some of these things or to do live or to do everything or how to do it. So, but you just keep yourself, that's just part of the journey.
This last Friday, New Day Cleveland was at the shops. We did New Day Cleveland, and then I had you today. And then on the second, I have another Plant Life pop-up event. And then the day after that, I'm doing a speech at the Home and Garden Show in Medina. So, things are getting a little crazy.
That's good. You just keep pushing it. You'll become the next thing you know, we're gonna have to do something about this becoming too popular because you became such a celebrity that everybody wants to see and hear about you before you were big.
That's not gonna happen, but I'll always be accessible.
You never know. Never know.
Maybe
you never know what the world has in store for you.
We'll find out one step at a time.
All right. So thanks for being here once again.
If you enjoyed this adventure and want to be alerted when more are available, please click the subscribe and maybe even the bell button. Thank you.